All right, everyone. Jeremy Knopf here with another episode of the Public Relations Declassified live stream. And we're joining you guys here today on Christmas Eve 2025. Obviously, this is going to be the last episode of the year. Look forward to seeing you guys all on the next year as we continue with the PR knowledge and social media marketing, all of that good stuff. What we're going to cover today is kind of a timely subject considering the day. And that is how to leverage giving to earn major publicity. Now, this is an awesome topic because I think a lot of people want to give, they want to contribute, they want to do things beyond just the business, right? They want to give back, they want to contribute in a way that brings value because they feel like they've got something valuable as a result of running their business. So they want to give back to others who are perhaps less fortunate or in need in some way. So this is one of those things that could be kind of a really powerful 1-2 punch where you're doing good, you're giving back, you're contributing value to the world, but at the same time, you're also getting publicity out of it, which then helps you grow, helps you scale. And then that kind of creates this snowball effect where now that you're earning more, you can do more to help others. And it's just this great scenario that I think benefits everyone. So it's something that I love. It's something that a lot of people want to do, but they don't know how to do it well. They don't know how to do it properly. And as a result, A, they don't do it, or B, they don't get the results out of it that they're looking for. So what I have found is that giving, whether it's in the form of cash, pro bono services, your time, or any other way that you choose to give, can be a really powerful way to earn media attention, but only if you do it right. And like I said, most people do it wrong, so they don't get the results that they're looking for. They may still help, they may still bring value to other people, but they don't get the publicity out of it, so it doesn't have the complete impact that it could. So the first thing that you need to know about this is you have to give for the right reasons. So we're not going to give just to get the media attention. We're not going to give just so that we get featured, so that people talk about us, so that our brand looks good in the minds of other people. Those are all benefits, but that's not the core reason. So we want to make sure that we're doing it for the right reasons. So if we do it that way, if we're doing it just for what we get out of it, look, everyone can see through that shit. It's inauthentic and it makes you seem fake. Giving should stand on its own. So this is something you should be doing just because you believe in it, regardless of what you get out of it. You want to give because you believe in that organization or that mission. So let's talk about how to do it properly. The first is to give with no expectations. Now, let's look at this in kind of a different light. We'll use an analogy here. So we've all had friends who have done shit for us, right? They're constantly doing nice things. They're constantly trying to help us. They're constantly trying to be useful, but then they're keeping score. They're holding it over our heads. If they ask us for something, and for whatever reason we say no, then it's like, well, why wouldn't you do that? I did all these things for you. Look, I did X, Y, and Z. That's the same kind of mindset when it comes to approaching charity, approaching giving from the perspective purely in terms of what media attention you're going to get out of it. So we don't want to take that approach. We know how it feels with friends. I promise you it feels the same way to journalists and to the charity organizations that you're contributing to as well. If you're just giving for the sake of getting publicity, people aren't going to like that, and you're not going to get the impact you want out of it. So just don't do that shit. When we are out here doing this, so we're going to give, but then we want to promote that organization and what they're doing. We're not doing it. We're not going to be out here promoting ourselves. And that's a really subtle but important point. If we're out here talking about how we're amazing because we're giving this money, or we're giving pro bono services, or we're giving our time to this organization, nobody gives a shit about that. And that just makes it clear that you're only doing it for the attention that it generates, for the media features that it generates for you. So if you're going to do this and then pitch the media the stories, you want to focus on them, on the entity, the organization, the people, whatever that you're helping, right? And to do that, we want to first focus on who are they helping. So there's a few different organizations that I give to in various ways. Sometimes it's money, sometimes it's my time, sometimes it's pro bono services. There's a lot of veterans organizations that I do this with. There's some educational organizations that I do this with. And when I'm out here talking about what they're doing, I'm talking about the people that they're helping. So I know a lot of you guys know my story, some of the challenges that I have been through. When I'm out here talking about some of the veterans orgs, there's some suicide prevention orgs that I work with. I'll help them to fight this epidemic of veteran suicide, which the numbers keep varying. I don't know exactly where they stand today, but there was a point where we were losing 22 veterans a day to suicide, which is frankly a repulsive number. I'd like that number to be 0. Obviously, that's not possible. But when I'm out here talking about what I'm doing with these organizations, I'm not talking about myself. I do talk about my own personal story where, I got to the point where I at least understood suicide. I didn't try to kill myself. I didn't try to, or I didn't want to, but I got to a point because of the challenges I was going through with my health where I understood how people got to that point. So I use that story when I'm talking about how they help people, but I focus more on the end result of the people that they're helping, right? So these veterans who come back without any support system, without the resources and tools that they need to rebuild their lives, to get over their PTSD, to, build a successful life on the civilian side. So we want to focus on who they're helping. There's another type of organization that I help, which is these entrepreneurial groups that teach veterans how to start and grow their own businesses. Again, I don't sit here and talk about my business. I don't talk about how awesome it is. I don't talk about all the things we're doing for people. I talk about the entrepreneurs who are getting a second start at life after veteran service, after military service rather, and how that impacts them, how that impacts their families, how that impacts their community, right? So we want to focus on the people that these organizations are serving. Then we want to talk about how they're doing it. So there's a great organization here in Tampa that I do some stuff with from time to time, Action Zone in Tampa Bay. It's run by Valerie Ellis and Rosie Lee. And these are two great women who provide a ton of resources for veterans organizations. They hold workshops. They have all kinds of informational resources. They make connections for people, right? Like maybe you're an entrepreneur and you've got a problem with staffing, or you've got a problem with marketing or the finances of your business. They've got people in their circle that they connect you with as a veteran who's starting a business or running a business that will connect you with the right people to help you shore up these weak areas in your business, to get stronger and become a more effective entrepreneur. So I talk about the things that these organizations are doing. I talk about how they're doing it, right? What are the resources they're providing? What's the infrastructure that they have to help them become more successful and achieve whatever the goal is that that organization serves, right? In this case, it's entrepreneurship. So we want to talk about specifically how they're doing it so that somebody else who may be in a position where they could benefit from whatever that organization does, they can see how it would benefit them and how they can use those resources, that knowledge, those connections to solve a particular problem. And then we want to talk about how others can get involved. And there's two sides to this coin here. There's the side of the coin where we're talking about what people who need the services that that organization provides. And then there's the side where we're talking about other people who can help that organization. So, if I get up here and I talk about Action Zone, for example, and I talk about how others can help, I've got a lot of entrepreneurs in my circle. So if I create a piece of publicity for them and I'm talking about, who they're helping and how they're doing it, and then I go into how others can get involved, there's a good chance that an entrepreneur in my network is going to see that, and they're going to want to contribute, especially within the veterans community, because veterans just love to serve people. That's why they do what they do. That's why they live the kind of life they do. So we talk about how others can get involved, whether it's on the recipient side or the contributing side. When you frame it this way, A, it creates more value for everyone involved. But B, it makes the media a lot more receptive to the story. If you're just up here talking about yourself, nobody gives a shit about that, right? Other than your mom, no one really cares how awesome you think you are. But when you're talking about bringing value to other people, then the media starts to be a lot more interested. And that's where you become more likely to get a story in this. So that's how we want to frame all of the conversations around this. Another thing I want to touch on with this is let other people talk about your involvement. So everyone is self-interested. So what you say about yourself is always going to be suspect. But on the other hand, what somebody else says about you is basically taken as gospel. So if I get up here and I tell you how awesome I am and all the amazing things that I think I'm doing and the impact that I think I'm creating, that's one thing. You're going to expect me to say that, because why wouldn't I? That benefits me. But if I get up or rather, if somebody else gets up and they start talking about how they've got this particular mission to help other people in some way, and then they start talking about how I've helped them in that mission, that carries a lot more weight. The media is going to be a lot more interested in hearing what I have to say about my role in that organization, because somebody else has already started that ball rolling. So we always want to try to frame it from the perspective of having other people talk about what we're doing within that organization or within that mission. So I'm going to give you guys a few examples. And for context here, some of these are clients that I've worked with. Some of them are things that I've done myself. And some of them are just people that I have watched contribute, give back to the world in some way with no real direct benefit to themselves other than just contributing to a mission that they believe in. So there was an organization that I worked with. I'm not going to name specific names on these, but I'm just going to talk about the framework, right? How it all unfolded. So there was an organization that I was working with, and for a little bit of backstory here, every year I will pick one veterans organization that I'm going to contribute our services to on a pro bono basis. And we'll do all kinds of things for them, publicity, marketing, connections, resources, all of that. So with this organization, we were basically handling a majority of their marketing. They were fighting this epidemic of veteran suicide. We created a ton of publicity for them, in addition to building out a website, helping with their social media, things like that. But that publicity and the social media and the brand that we created for them, that helped them to land an episode on a TV show on a major network, which created a ton of publicity for them, got them a ton of new donors, bringing a lot of cash into the ecosystem to help them fight veteran suicide. Now, at no point did I talk about myself in this. I talked entirely about them and the mission and what they were doing. And because of that, there was a ton of publicity that then helped them take their mission up to a much larger scale. There's another example of a friend of mine who's very passionate about animals, particularly dogs. And he's involved in all kinds of charity organizations, specifically around pit bulls, but dogs in general. And, he's constantly doing fundraisers to help them raise money to take care of these animals, constantly doing fundraisers to help these animals get adopted into homes that are going to take good care of them. He's constantly promoting them. And at no point does he talk about himself. It's strictly about the organization. And that creates a ton of visibility for these organizations, which then helps these dogs get adopted, helps them to find good homes that they can live out their lives in. And that's the right approach. There was another mission that we did a while back with the Florida Department of Education. Now, the Florida Department of Education had put together this financial literacy curriculum after Governor DeSantis signed this new law into effect. This was a few years ago, I think 21, 22, something like that. And first of all, they needed financial experts to develop that curriculum. Teachers are great, but financial literacy is not their area of expertise most of the time. So given my proximity to people who have a deep expertise on that, I brought in some amazing people to help out with this organization. Two of them, David Phelps and Kim Kiyosaki, were heavily involved in the development of this curriculum. Then the other side of it was, at some point during the development of the curriculum, I was talking with the DOE, and they were talking about how much they loved how the curriculum was coming together, how much impact they felt that it was going to have as long as the students paid attention, learned the material, and actually implemented it in their lives. And her concern was, this was the number 2 person at the DOE, her concern was, the information is great, the resources are amazing, but the kids probably aren't going to realize how important this is. And I said, well, why don't we get some prominent celebrities that these kids already look up to and respect and get them to tell the kids why this is so important? And she's like, well, I love that. That's great, but we don't know any of those people. I said, well, I do. So I connected them with numerous celebrities. Mark Cuban was actually the first one. Mark Cuban from Shark Tank. And he got on. Basically, we put together a little campaign where these celebrities would take their phone and do this little selfie video talking about the importance of financial literacy and why they needed to pay attention to the material, learn it, and apply it in their lives. Now, if their teachers or their parents are telling them this, it's probably going to go in one ear and out the other. If you have kids, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But if Mark Cuban, a multi-billionaire who's got several successful companies, gets up and says, hey, I don't care what level you're at, you always need to understand financial literacy. You always need to apply these principles in your life, no matter how much money you have, because that's how you build and maintain wealth. So Mark Cuban was one. I'm drawing a blank on some of the other names. The guy from Lost, he was also Lucifer in Supernatural. I am completely drawing a blank, and I'm so embarrassed about that right now. I can't remember the guy's name for the life of me right now. Those were some of the first people that jumped on board and did these great videos that were then used to promote the importance of this program to the kids. They didn't get up there and talk about how awesome they were. They didn't get up there and talk about all their accolades. They just shot a quick selfie video talking about the importance of this material and how it would help the students. And this was something that was used to get the students to really buy into the program, pay attention to the materials, learn it, and then implement it in their lives, which is going to have a huge impact. It's going to ripple out for generations to come because they all took the right approach. Now, there was a ton of publicity developed around this entire thing, and all of the people involved got featured in that publicity. There was hundreds upon hundreds of media features that came as a result of this. And all of these people who helped support it, whether it was from the perspective of creating the curriculum or from the perspective of helping the kids, the students, to understand the importance of it, they all got tons of publicity just by giving in a way that benefited others. And then the last example that I'll give you guys is a friend of mine, Tom Carver, who had a situation where he was in a hospital, life-threatening situation, nearly died, and in the process realized what was wrong with the healthcare system. So he went and donated a very large 6-figure contribution to the hospitals to help them improve all of the things that help them to give the care, right? Buy better equipment, buy better software, train people better, do all of the things that would create better outcomes for people, make them more likely to survive whatever health issues they were having, make their experience a little bit better. If you've ever been in a life-threatening situation, hospitals frankly suck. You already know that. Most people don't know how bad it is. So what he did was he donated hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of dollars to this hospital, and he actually never said shit about it. almost nobody even knew about it. He didn't publicize it. He didn't try and say, hey, look what I'm doing. Look how amazing I am. He just quietly donated the money. But as a result of that, there was numerous pieces of publicity that came out because others were talking about what he did to help these hospitals better serve other people. So those are a few examples of leveraging giving properly to create publicity for yourself and for your brand. This is a thing that I absolutely love because it's powerful both from the perspective of giving and creating value for others, right? If you've been successful, I feel like you have an obligation, not in the legal sense, but in the moral sense, to give back to the world in some way. And those are examples of people who have done it very well and very effectively. But a byproduct of that is the publicity, which then further helps your brand. And then that further helps you to give more to more people and create even more impact. So we're going to close out the segment here today with Jeremy's PR PSA, which is giving to charity can be a powerful PR strategy, but only if you do it authentically and truly support the mission of that organization. So it's critical that if you're going to do this, you do it for the right reasons. If you don't, it's going to be inauthentic. People are going to see through that, and you're not going to get the publicity benefit from it. If you do it the correct way, not only are you giving to that organization, you're helping them in their mission, but you're also creating publicity for yourself and for the organization, which helps you in the long run to make more money. So now you can give back even more. It also helps that organization reach more people and serve more people. So you're also further helping them in their mission, even beyond the initial contribution, whatever it was, whether it was resources, manpower, money, services, whatever. So this is something that is very near and dear to my heart. I encourage you guys to leverage this strategy because not only does it help you and your brand from a PR perspective, but it also helps so many other people in the world. And I think that's a great message for today, especially considering that it is Christmas Eve. We'll all be celebrating Christmas tomorrow here pretty soon. And it just kind of falls into the whole idea of the holiday season. So that's a wrap for today, guys. If you found this valuable, if you found this useful, I'd love it if you drop a comment. Love it if you'd share this with someone who you think can benefit from it. Side note, if you run a nonprofit organization or you know someone that does, please, by all means, share this with them. And this is something that if they know about it, if they understand how this strategy works, they can bring in more people to help them in their mission, and they can serve more people. I'm actually considering doing a kind of a standalone session at some point where I teach these nonprofit orgs how to recruit and leverage people in this way to help in their mission overall. So if that's something you're interested in, reach out to me. Love to help you guys create more impact. And that's going to be a wrap for today, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this wonderful Christmas Eve. And I will see you guys next year, the first Wednesday of January. So in the meantime, have a Merry Christmas, everyone.